When there is a threat for severe thunderstorms in your area, you are more likely to encounter damage from straight-line winds versus tornadoes or hail. Downbursts are the most common cause of wind damage from a thunderstorm. The process starts with rising air within the strong updraft of a storm. The air cools, condenses, and tiny drops of water form. The droplets increase in size and then combine with others, eventually becoming too heavy and fall towards the surface within a pocket of colder air. After the air hits the ground, it compresses, forcing the winds to increase very quickly outward, sometimes exceeding 100 miles per hour. Damaging winds can come in other forms as well, such as small-scale microbursts, broad-spanning derechos, gust fronts on the leading edge of rain-cooled air, and even haboobs associated with drier thunderstorms. Straight-line winds are different from winds associated with a tornado. Downdrafts produce winds flowing out of the storm in the same direction. A tornado, on the other hand, has winds that are violently rotating in a more circular fashion. But remember, it's not the wind itself that can be deadly. It's what the wind can pick up and throw in your direction that is dangerous. That's why it's always important to stay weather aware and be prepared whenever severe storms threaten your community. For WeatherNation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. Winter storms and blizzards often paralyze communities for days on end, but heavy bursts of snow known as snow squalls can bring similarly significant impacts over a much shorter time frame. Snow squalls are similar to a line of thunderstorms. They move through an area swiftly, but instead of rain and lightning, snow squalls pack bursts of heavy snow that dramatically reduce visibility. Plummeting temperatures also accompany these events, causing road surfaces to ice up in a matter of minutes. Whiteout conditions and icy roadways combine for treacherous travel that can result in multi-car pileups along major interstates. During a snow squall, it's safe to avoid all driving if possible. Delaying travel by several minutes can make all the difference, as snow squalls tend to be short-lived, typically lasting 30 minutes to an hour. If travel is necessary, be sure to reduce speeds and put plenty of distance between yourself and the car ahead of you. To improve awareness of snow squalls, the National Weather Service issues snow squall warnings. They are designed to warn motorists prior to snowfall with the goal of reducing any major disruptions they can have on travel. The Midwest and the Northeast are the most common areas for snow squalls, but they can occur almost anywhere in the United States. Whenever you are traveling, stay in tune with weather forecasts and be prepared for anything the road ahead may bring. For WeatherNation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. No matter what kind of tropical storm forms, the hazards can be just as devastating inland as along the coast.
1969 with Hurricane Camille, Category 5 storm, more people lost their lives inland than they did even along the coast.
When a tropical storm makes landfall, it will not just stop there. While these storms will begin to weaken once they are over land, they can still cause catastrophic impacts for hundreds of miles.
You think about the leading cause of fatalities in these seasons in the continental United States since 2017 has been inland water, inland rain, and half of those in automobiles.
Even after the storm has passed, inland flooding can last for several days. As a result, lives will continue to be threatened and communities could face up to billions of dollars of damage. Other dangerous impacts include powerful, destructive winds and tornadoes.
Of course, we saw the storm surge and the damage in Mexico Beach in Florida, but follow that damage. There was wind damage into central portions of Georgia with Hurricane Michael. So well inland, you could see that tree damage.
Tropical tornadoes are usually fast-moving, weaker, and short-lived. But as we found out in Isaias in 2020, they can still cause damage well away from the center of the storm. That's why it's so important to have a plan in case you need to evacuate, and be prepared for widespread power outages which could last for long periods of time. Remember, every storm will be different and its impacts will be unique, so know your risks where you live. For WeatherNation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. Lake effect snow is a type of event we commonly see across the Great Lakes region during the fall and winter months. In order for this phenomenon to develop, we need the lakes to be mostly unfrozen. This ensures a large difference in temperature between the relatively warm lake water and the colder air rushing over top.
When we have cold air move over the Great Lakes, it helps to evaporate some of that warm, moist air, which is a good contributing factor to seeing lake effect snow develop.
Now, as that moisture approaches the coastline, it's allowed to rise, eventually condensing, forming clouds and heavy bands of snow. Locations that are likely to see the greatest impacts from lake effect snow will be placed under a winter storm warning or a lake effect snow warning, indicating the likelihood for whiteout conditions and near impossible travel.
Lake effect snow bands are prone to causing snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. That's something that we commonly see with some of our heavier lake effect snow bands. And in situations of the most extreme lake effect snow bands, we can see even higher snowfall rates, maybe 3 inches an hour or 4 inches per hour.
Due to the difference in temperature between the air and the lake, instability could be relatively large for colder months. This could lead to thunder snow in the strongest bands. And it's not just throughout the Great Lakes that we get this type of weather event. Other lakes such as the Finger Lakes and the Great Salt Lake can have their own bands develop when conditions are right.
What makes the Great Salt Lake unique is that it's not frozen. And so we can have that lake effect snow from periods as early as October all the way through the spring.
To learn more about other types of snow events, head to our website, weathernationtv.com. For Weather Nation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. Dangerous weather strikes the U.S. from coast to coast, 24/7, 365. Preventable injuries and deaths result every year from extreme weather, along with millions, even billions of dollars in property damage. The best way to combat dangerous weather from winter storms to flash flooding, tropical systems, and severe storms is to stay informed and prepared for what's coming. The best way to do so, have multiple ways to get weather warnings, especially overnight. For many, cell phones are the first line of defense. Make sure emergency notifications are turned on and the Do Not Disturb function is turned off. And while cell phones can help, you need an alternative in case towers go down or you lose service. Outdoor warning sirens are an option during severe weather, but are generally not strong enough to wake you. The surefire solution? A NOAA weather radio. It's the time and tested way to make sure you and your family get warnings in a timely manner. NOAA weather radios can be programmed to give you and your family alerts for different types of weather warnings, so you will always be notified in the event of dangerous weather.
Having a NOAA weather radio, it's kind of like having a smoke detector in your house. It alerts you in the middle of the night if there's a fire. The weather radio does the same thing if there's a tornado.
The more layers you have in place for getting warning information, the better. That way, if one fails, you will get the information from another source and be able to take action. As always, have a plan in place ahead of dangerous weather and review it with your family. And stay with Weather Nation for the latest on your forecast. For Weather Nation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. Allergies impact millions of people every year. So let's dive into allergy season and how you can make sure you're not caught off guard by the sniffles. Check with your doctor to find out what allergens affect you the most. Whether grass, tree, or weed pollen, you can then find the times they are worst during the year. Latitude and climate play a major role in the beginning of growing season. The further north you are in the United States, colder air will slow down the process. Precipitation and above average temperatures will also vary the exact start time of growth. Typically, issues with tree pollen begin in the late winter or early spring and last into the early summer. Grass pollen soon follows from early spring all the way into the fall. Weed pollen typically gets worse in the summer and continues until a frost is able to wipe it out. Weather patterns also have a huge impact on pollen levels day to day. If the weather is dry and windy, this can make things worse, as that allergen is easily whisked through the air towards and around you. Rainy days can actually be helpful by reducing pollen count in the air. However, if directly followed by a few days of dry and sunny conditions, rain-stimulated plant growth could send pollen levels skyrocketing, along with contributing to possible mold growth. Some of the best ways to combat allergies start right in your home. Make sure you vacuum frequently, have a strong filter for your AC and heating unit, and keep dust under control. For Weather Nation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. Severe weather can happen any time of day. But when the threat is while you're sleeping, the danger significantly increases. Studies show that nighttime tornadoes are 2.5 times more likely to kill than their daytime counterparts.
Yeah, overnight severe weather is very precarious situation. If folks aren't prepared for it, or if they're not anticipating it.
Severe storms can come in the form of large hail, damaging wind gusts, and tornadoes. And when it is after dark, you may not see the storm coming until it's too late. With limited spotter contributions and fewer reports of ground truth, it makes it more difficult for meteorologists to get a clear picture of the situation. It is extremely important to make sure you are prepared ahead of the storm, starting with ways to get warnings.
An app on your phone, there's wireless emergency alerts, which should alert you as well, and then that NOAA weather radio. It's like that smoke detector for weather. It's going to wake you up in the middle of the night.
Have a plan in place of where to shelter during a tornado warning, and even an alternate location to spend the night if you live in a mobile home or a structure where you do not feel safe. We will always keep you informed here on WeatherNation whenever severe weather strikes. For WeatherNation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. Seasonal snowfall is an important part of Earth's weather and climate system, and a fresh snow cover can turn a quiet winter landscape into a breathtaking sight to see. But it can also intensify some bone-chilling cold. When sunlight reaches the Earth's surface, temperatures generally increase during the day. Without snow on the Earth's surface, however, trees, plants, and soils will only reflect between 10 and 30% of the sun's incoming energy. This is referred to as Earth's albedo, or the amount of radiation reflected by a surface. However, snow has a much higher albedo. Have you ever noticed that sunglasses are a must following a fresh snowfall? This is because clean snow cover reflects nearly 90% of the sun's incoming energy. That means 90% of incoming sunlight that usually is available to heat us up is no longer able to during the day. As a result, afternoon high temperatures will be lower. Snowpack can also impact overnight low temperatures. After the sun sets, the top surface of the snow begins to emit radiation of its own back out to space. This process rapidly cools the air above the snow to very low, often record-breaking levels. For WeatherNation, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa. From quick-lived Mindy soaking an already saturated southeast to a monstrous dust devil out west. And let's not forget about the historic flooding that moved through New York City. It's safe to say we've had a wild week of weather here in the United States. But let's take a look at other top weather headlines that may have escaped your news feed this week. Torrential rains over central Mexico led to a flash flood nightmare north of the nation's capital. The Tula River broke its banks and flooded a local hospital. Nursing staff were seen trudging through knee-deep water, trying to evacuate patients through any means necessary. Officials say 16 patients died as a result of the hospital losing power and backup generators. Adding insult to injury, that same evening, some 300 miles away, the city of Acapulco was rocked by a 7.1 magnitude earthquake. Storefronts were destroyed, and the flickering of power was seen as far away as Mexico City. Officials say so far 73 aftershocks have been recorded, with the strongest reaching magnitude 5.2. In Europe, a similar flooding story unfolded. Nearly 10 inches of rain fell across the Catalan region of Spain over the course of 14 hours. Some areas recorded 3 inches of rain in just half an hour. Officials say no one died during the flash flooding, but 2 tourists died while swimming during the storm. On the south side of the country, a wildfire erupted, forcing 500 people to evacuate. Local fire services say 200 personnel have already been deployed to battle the blaze. Here in North America, our neighbors to the north saw severe storms rumble through Ontario. Strong winds and heavy rain battered the Providence, while waterspouts were even spotted over Lake Huron. Let's end our international voyage at the iconic Mount Fuji, where Japan's most prominent peak recorded its earliest snowfall in 13 years. For your Weather Around the World update, I'm meteorologist Erik Kostrzewa.